UFC 313, boy, oh boy. I really thought, you know what I'm saying? I might be a casual boy. If you think I'm a casual, put it down in the comments down in the section. You know what I'm saying? Put it down in the comment section if you think I'm a fucking casual at that point for putting money on Alex Pereira. But man, I put $20 down. I put $20 down, really thinking I was gonna do something with that. I ain't gonna lie, but no, he ended up losing. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna see what Dana White has to say about Alex Pereira
Going
losing.
back to Alex tonight, there's been a little bit of talk about, he's everywhere around the world, right? He's flying to Sydney, he's doing all this stuff when he could be, maybe training at home. Do you feel like that maybe affected his performance and he looked flat tonight? Or do you actually give it to Ankalaev for just putting the pressure on him and making him look flat?
That's a good question. I think that's a question definitely for him to answer. I definitely don't know his schedule. I know he's been bouncing around, but do you see this everywhere? When somebody becomes a big star and they start making lots of money, there are lots of different doors that open and opportunities. But there's no doubt everybody knew that Ankalaev was going to be a tough fight for him. Everybody knew that this was going to be probably the biggest challenge of his career. And yeah, I wouldn't take anything away from Ankalaev and the pressure that he put on Alex tonight, and kept pushing forward. Even in the fifth round, I was listening on the headphones. Alex's corner was saying, you got to go after him this round. You have to let everything go. You got to let your hands go. You got to try to take him out.
There was a lot of talk before this fight from kind of mainstream media.
Yeah. From what I saw, that boy was not wanting to throw no hands, bro. He was last couple rounds. He was just too exhausted, bro.
Media that like, oh, Alex John would be the fight to make. But do you think tonight shows that actually Alex is still pretty new in MMA and it's John Tom was always the fight and that's the fight that you still want to make?
Yeah, I mean, when you're trying to ask a guy, to move up 2 weight classes to heavyweight and take on the greatest of all time. I think we all agree with that in this room, right? There's still tough guys to fight in the light heavyweight division. I believe in moving up after you clean out divisions, and this division wasn't cleaned out yet.
Dana, back here.
Yeah.
How do you sum up what we saw out of Alex's title reign over the last year, what he was able to accomplish in comparison to the other great light heavyweight runs that you've seen?
That nigga's getting done
I
a
think
little
that
bit better. I ain't gonna lie.
the story of him and Israel Adesanya is incredibly fascinating. These guys that come from kickboxing and were able to come to the UFC and dominate the way that they have, and the story between them, it's fascinating. It's like it's nothing I've ever seen before in the sport. Yeah, very cool.
Bro, getting in the ring to do that shit and then transitioning over to a different, not so different, but another different state of it, it's like, it's crazy, bro. I'm just upset, bro. This man, I put $10 on you, bro. Twice. That's 20. I was really hoping something. I should have known better. I'm a casual when I watch MMA. I'm a casual, bro. I'm a casual. So, let me know who I should bet on, bro, so I don't end up fucking myself over. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't trying to fuck myself over.
Light heavyweight title at UFC 313 at the hands of Magomed Ankalaev. And we were wrong, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, honestly, this was wild. Going into this fight, we thought Alex Pereira would knock him out. Alex Pereira would find that shot because we thought this would be a striking battle. And what do you know? Pretty much, for the most part, it was. It was pretty much Ankalaev on the feet, looking for the straight left, looking to time the inside low kick of Alex Pereira to find the shot and hurt him, which he did in moments which will...
He was not letting Alex Pereira breathe, bro. He was hitting him too much. At the last round, you saw he was tired, bro. And you just saw Dana, admit to hearing his corner talk about, yo, you gotta strike. You gotta strike this one. You gotta strike this one. Come on now.
We'll get to later, but Alex Pereira never really got it a second gear in this fight. He never really upped the tune or really let his hands go. He was leg kicking at range, especially early on, and he seemed hesitant. He seemed a bit too patient. And now, was that down to the fact that Ankalaev is in front of him and now he's in there with a much better opponent and opposition than he's been in previously? I tend to think so. It's the threat of the takedown. Obviously, Ankalaev was mixing that in a little bit, and Ankalaev was just controlling the center of the octagon the entire fight.
Yeah, to his credit, Ankalaev did very well in this fight. Was the aggressor the entire time, pushing back Alex Pereira against the cage, and was able to use level changes, able to use feints to always keep Alex unsure, guessing what he's gonna do, mixing it in with the wrestling, keeping him against the cage. And for Alex Pereira, it just looked like he was extremely gun shy, was very limited with his boxing, which typically is one of his greatest attributes. And this hesitancy was really leading him to getting caught by Ankalaev, in which we saw him rock Alex Pereira in the second round. And this fight was just a very different performance from the outstanding masterclasses we've seen Alex Pereira put on in his title ring, in which typically he's the aggressor, backing down, using combinations, using his extraordinary kickboxing with his incredible counter punching. But this fight was completely different.
He sold my
bag. He was using the leg kicks very heavily. Of course, it was very effective from Jan Blachowicz against Ankalaev, so he was utilizing that. Of course, it's one of his greatest attributes as well. But I feel like it was just too much. He was using way too many leg kicks, was not mixing in with his boxing. Even when he found success, like that head kick in round 5, I believe, he just didn't pursue it, didn't go after it. So a lot of what lost him this fight was just not being too aggressive or too confident, it seemed, with his striking.
Yeah, Ankalaev out of southpaw was actually pretty tricky. Like the hand fades, the lead hand was always twitching. He was doing a good job of actually stabbing Alex with front kicks and teeps to the body, which were sending Alex back pretty heavily. A couple times we saw that in this fight, and Alex really just didn't get started. When he was on the front foot, he didn't really open up. When he wasn't on the front foot, he would just throw leg kicks, and it was just a very patient performance. We're not trying to rip at Alex Pereira like this fight wasn't close, because actually it was pretty close. And Ankalaev, yes, he had more clear rounds, like rocking Alex in the second round and controlling him for a majority of the fourth round with the wrestling. But in those other 3 rounds, they were fairly competitive. I feel like Alex had a little bit less clear rounds. Ankalaev had 2 and 4 pretty much locked in. So 1, 3, and 5 could maybe be up for debate. I thought Alex took the first round, maybe took the third round, and it was 2-2 going to that last round. And Ankalaev seemed to do a little bit better besides that head kick from Alex Pereira.
All I was really seeing was this man was cooking, bro. He was cooking.
As you mentioned, that was his big moment. It looked like he rocked
seems.
Ankalaev. Ankalaev was on the back foot, pretty much
really
just
get to
backing
watch
up in
the
a
fight
straight
because
line.
I was
Alex
busy,
chased him,
because
but
it
didn't
happened
throw.
for G,
Again, it's very not like him, and it's not your vintage Alex Pereira performance, but you also got to remember that he's in there with a little bit more dangerous of a guy than you usually see. Ankalaev has put guys lights out, and Ankalaev is a very well-rounded fighter, the most well-rounded guy he's probably faced at light heavyweight, up there with probably Jan Blachowicz. But Ankalaev actually surprised me with his leg kicks. He was actually doing a good job of checking leg kicks from Alex and giving some of his own too.
Yeah, most definitely. And if it seems like we're critiquing a lot of Alex Pereira, it's mainly just because this was just such a different performance and approach than we typically see from him. But to his credit, what we did see
Alex was going to be a little bit more dominant, but he really wasn't as much.
And his overall grappling, every single takedown that Ankalaev attempted was defended by Alex Pereira, and he did an incredible job to make sure he kept on the feet, to make sure he wouldn't get controlled on the ground. So we definitely did see big improvements there, but it's just unfortunate he wasn't able to mix it up with his stand-up too, because he did such a good job defending all the takedowns for Ankalaev, and I'm sure a lot of people expected Ankalaev to have at least taken him down a couple of times during this fight. But at the end of the day, it was still very close. Personally, I thought it could have gone either way, and it's not like Alex Pereira got completely washed out in that fight.
Yeah, it's kind of just like an abrupt end to the run that Alex Pereira was on. Bruce Buffer introduced him in this fight as the one, the only, and obviously he seemed to be a huge star for the UFC in the making, at least. Like, he had a lot of fans, a lot of hype, a lot of people saw the potential, and this guy was knocking everyone out left and right. But
this is the perfect comeback story for this boy,
imposing his game plan, the
pressure
perfect
comeback
on the front
story.
foot, constantly clinch knees. Alex really wasn't able to land his signature left hook. That's what he's knocked out a lot of guys with in the UFC. Sean Strickland, Jamal Hill, at least that's what got him to that finish in the end. Yuri Prohaska as well. even Israel Adesanya, pretty much everyone besides maybe Khalil Rountree, where he just jabbed his face off. Even the jabs weren't really there for Alex Pereira, and it definitely wasn't a vintage Alex performance, but you gotta think that's because of the opposition that was in front of him. Magomed Ankalaev is a serious contender,
really
and actually a serious
Alex
champion, because he is the new champion now at the light heavyweight division, and a lot of people are not
really
gonna
hoping
like
he would come
that,
out
say
on
this
top,
is boring,
bro.
say that he isn't gonna be an exciting champion, and I get it, but at the same time, Ankalaev was trying to push the pace, he was trying to push the action.
Bro.
There were a
He
couple
came with the
rounds where
technique and
he
he'd
would
say,
just hold Alex
"Ow."
against the fence and he wouldn't get any takedowns, so he was kind of imposing his inner Mario Batista a little bit, but other than that, he was actually landing the better shots than even Alex Pereira on the feet,
most
so
definitely.
I don't think you
Check
can
the
give him
shot
too
chart,
much
bro.
slack
Check the
in that
shot chart.
department. He is on the front foot, but he does negate a lot of what his opponents do, and he did that to Alex Pereira this night.
And you gotta think what's next for both of these guys. Dana White announced in the post-fight press conference saying it's highly likely we see a rematch between the two. And of course it makes sense, as Alex Pereira has been a dominant champion and has had multiple title defenses, and that's typically what happens when a dominant champion loses. They get the immediate rematch. But it's gonna be interesting to see what things these guys can adjust in their game plan. I think Ankalaev had a very good game plan. He fought a perfect fight for him, honestly, going against a dangerous guy in Pereira. So I'd say it's more of a question of what Pereira will be able to adjust. And I think it definitely have to be with a lot of his hesitancy, moving backwards way too much during the fight. He did give Ankalaev a lot of respect throughout the entire fight, and I think additionally because of the feint and because of the takedown threat, he wasn't too willing to just engage in risking taken down or risking hurt. So of course that's also credit to Ankalaev and his game plan and what he implemented, but there are definitely things that Pereira is able to change in the rematch that can bring him way more success. Just like when he hurt him with the head kick, him being able to follow up instead of moving backwards like he did the rest of the fight. There's little things here and there that can definitely be changed, and it's definitely going to be a question to see if he can win the rematch.
Yeah, I definitely know what's not.
There's plenty of room for improvement, and Alex has enough time to get some. God, why can't I speak today? Yo, Alex has enough time to get himself in the best condition for the next rematch, whether it comes or not, or whatever fight he has up next in store. You know what I'm saying? He has enough time for growth and improvement, and I can't wait to see it, because I know he's gonna have a crazy story, bro. Trust and believe that.
Not next for Alex Pereira, and that is kind of overlooking his future opponents leading up to this fight against Magomed Ankalaev. He was talking about, oh, I want to have a boxing match against Alexander Usyk. I want to fight for the heavyweight title in boxing. Like, we saw tonight why that would never even be close, not even be fair, not even be competitive. We did a video on that in the past, but now we know that for certain. A southpaw with a lot of feints, a lot of movement, who's very tricky, would obviously give him a lot of problems, let alone the greatest boxer alive in the world, pound for pound, Usyk.
I got hope. Only reason I got hope is because we share the same name.
So it's back to the drawing board for Pereira. He still is at the top of the division. He's obviously the #1 contender considering his run. Who are you going to put ahead of him? Yuri Prochazka? Like, no. Alex beat him twice. Alex beat Jamal Hill. Alex beat Khalil Rountree. There's no other fight really to make other than the rematch, which I feel like will definitely be big. Now that Alex is lost, there's this jeopardy. Maybe it won't be as exciting because the first fight wasn't fireworks necessarily, but this is a very high-level matchup between two of the top guys at light heavyweight, two of the best guys in the world. So
you best believe
I'd like
I'm
to
gonna
see
put my
it.
money
I'd like
again
to
on
see them
Alex
run it
Pereira.
back. It was a close
You
fight
better
at the end
make
of the
me
day.
some fucking
Could've really
money,
gone
boy.
either way, but this is Magomed Ankalaev.
If you guys did enjoy, hit the subscribe button. Comment down below what other videos like for me to react to. Catch y'all boys in the next one. I love y'all. Woo.
DJ Ben, drop that shit. Baby, ask why I don't